In a recent HCI webcast sponsored by Kelly Services, Dr. John Sullivan recently addressed an audience of HCI members about the global talent supply chain in the context of global talent management. As he explained it, the global economy, with fewer and fewer borders, continues to evolve, and this trend brings with it tremendous competitive forces that require organizations wishing to thrive to become more agile in nearly every aspect of operations.
So let's start with a little background information. Why is contingent labor becoming such a hot deal, or why is labor becoming such a hot deal? So we know that prior to the 1990s, that if you looked at most organizations and say, what kind of employees do you have, they only had one type, which was permanent employees, permanent full-time employees. And less than 5%, in some cases as few as 2%, were contingent workers. And those were mostly to fill in for sick leave or pregnancy or vacation time. And so it was an auxiliary function often handled by procurement or purchasing or someone of less importance, but certainly wasn't part of HR because most employees were, in fact, full-time permanent employees. But that's changing. And so here's a prediction from one of the major law firms. 50% of the workforce added in this year will be made up of one form of contingent workers. So half of the workers we had this year are likely to be contingent. And as a result, between 25 and as high as 35% of our workforce will be made up of these temporary contingent contractors, project-based labor. So instead of having a 5% target, we might have a 25 or 35. There are even some organizations that are up to 50. And by realizing that you're going to have different types of workers, and including remote workers, where someone is a full-time permanent employee, works remotely, those individuals have to be managed differently if you're going to integrate them into your regular productivity teams. And so if you have individuals with different skill levels, different knowledge, those that are treated differently or feel differently, you're just not going to have as productive as a workforce. Why not have a 95% regular workers, or whatever term we want to use? Well, first of all, because they're just expensive to release. So work levels do go up and down. So if you're a company like Apple, you make computers, but then all of a sudden you make music or music equipment, and then you make mobile phones. Well, that means that you need to increase and decrease your skill levels, your workloads, quite frequently. And so it's expensive to release permanent workers. You have to pay them severance. There's certainly legal issues. If you release large numbers of individuals in a reduction in force or a layoff, certainly there are legal and PR issues. There's certainly brand issues. So if you lay off 10% of your workforce, you're going to get in the media. You're going to have people blog about you and tweet about you. So it's a bad PR move in addition to being costly to let a lot of individuals go. On the other side, as the economy turns around, we're already seeing signs of that, and certainly if you're a global firm, we see it in many areas in China and India, it's difficult to rapidly add resources. So hiring permanent employees or regular employees just takes a lot of time, and that's a problem when you need skills rapidly. It could be expensive if you give these employees benefits, where not all contingent workers get benefits, and certainly retirement, pension, insurance, those kind of things can be expensive for your traditional employee. Unions can be an issue, more of an issue with regular employees. And on the positive side, it's certainly easier to track. So if a CFO, as they often do, say, what's our head count, it's certainly a lot easier to track permanent employees and to identify labor costs. It's a cycle of what we've been through in HR in the last couple of years, is that the cycles have been rapid growth, and then in 2000 or 2001, all of a sudden we had to shrink our workforce, cut costs, change our capabilities, and then up again and down again, and now we're back up again. And when CFOs see that, and whether it was an HR chart or any chart, we need to smooth that out. We need to make it more like that straight line. We need smoother ups and less dramatic downs. So let's look at the process for looking at contingent workers. What are the advantages of having a larger percentage of contingent workers? Well, the reverse, they're easy to release when the workload decreases. They're on a contract basis, or they certainly don't have expectations to stay a long time. If they are benefit costs, they're probably being handled by the vendor. They're easier to add, so you can certainly use a process for rapidly hiring contingent workers. And most important, it gives you the skills that you need for maybe a short duration. So if you have a problem, you're going to develop a new program or new technology, there's a skill set that you need, but you only need it for a certain period of time. So if this was a movie, you need to build the movie sets in the beginning of the project, but at the end you don't need carpenters or people to build movie sets. So the key is that you can get skills rapidly for the short duration of time that you need them. And because so many skills are becoming obsolete, rather than having to retrain workers when a skill is only needed every 6 months or every 2 years, you can bring those skills on board just when you need them, and you don't have to pay to have those skills updated because the person updates their own skill sets before you rehire them.